Hi guys, so as you can tell by the title, this video is not my usual video. I usually don't do story times. I was always kind of afraid specifically of this one, but I knew I always wanted to tell this story. But I mainly want to do this just to give people advice and help people because I want people to be able to take what they can from my experiences and turn it into something good for their own lives. So yeah, first thing I'm gonna say is that this is not clickbait. This is 100% true. So if you want to hear how I dropped out of high school, then continue watching this video. So I'm gonna get right into it. I went to a public elementary school, middle school, and high school. I did go to high school for my freshman and sophomore year. I was never one to love school, but I didn't hate school either. It was just kind of neutral for me. I went to school because I had to, basically was what it was. But I didn't dread going every day. I mean, I guess you do to some extent, but I feel like that's everybody. So, my freshman year of high school was not so bad. It was okay. I didn't have a ton of friends like I never really did throughout school. I did in middle school a lot more than any other year of school. My years through middle school, I had a lot more friends than in elementary school or even in high school. So as you know though, when you go to high school, things kind of change a little bit. A lot of your friends grow up, blah, 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 you just kind of grow apart, whatever. You don't see each other as much. You're not in the same classes. You make new friends and all of that. Well, my freshman year of high school, I wasn't really looking to meet new people and looking to make new friends. I'm just a very shy person in general, and I'm a very quiet person. And I always had I guess, to be honest, self-confidence issues where I always just felt like someone, they were gonna think what I said was stupid, or I don't know, they were just gonna just think I was weird or something. So I always struggled with that. So my freshman year of high school, I didn't really have that many friends. So when my freshman year of high school ended, that summer things were a little rocky. The couple of friends that I did have, it was just things were getting a little rocky, but mainly with one person, things were just not things were not going well. But when I got into my sophomore year of high school, things were super bumpy for me. I just was very unhappy, and some stuff went down with people that just made things horrible for me. Basically, as my sophomore year went on, in the first semester of my sophomore year, things were so bad. I was getting threatened and I was being bullied really bad. My first semester of sophomore year wasn't as bad as the second semester, but I'll get into that in a minute. But basically, I was just being bullied and threatened. And I remember one specific time I was at a church event for Christmas with my family and a couple of family friends, and I just got this text out of the middle of nowhere, out of the blue, from some guy that I had never actually known. My sister knew him, and I knew of him. We went to the same after school program when I was very, very little. I'm talking I don't know, 7 to maybe 9 or 10 or so. So really little. I feel it was so much longer than that, but I don't even know. That place was crazy. Okay. So anyways, we're not going to get into that. So, so I knew him at that place. I had seen him there, but I'd never actually talked to him. I knew he went to my school, but I didn't actually ever talk to him. I didn't know him. I knew of him, but I didn't know him, So he texted me. First of all, I was like, how does he have my phone number? Second of all, what is going on? I've never talked to you in my life. And he threatened me. He basically threatened me and my family, and it was just a very scary situation. At the time, I didn't feel like I could tell my parents about it. I was so scared, and I just didn't want anybody to know what I was going through. It was just really, really hard. But I did tell my sister. I was like, Danielle, like, what is going on? Like, what is this? I was like, who is this? And I was like, and I told her his name, and she was like, oh my gosh. She was like, is that him? Like, and she was like, I'm gonna text him because this is ridiculous. Because, like, I had never met the person, and basically he was threatening me because other people that I was like in like having problems with were telling him this, and he decided that it was okay to text me and threaten me and my family, and it was just a really bad situation. So my sister texted him. I don't even ever really know what happened with that situation because I kind of just like never responded, and I just like, it's like one of those things, like I feel like everybody says it, but it's so true. Like, you can threaten me all you want, but like, don't threaten my family. Like, no one has anything to do with this but me, and you don't even have anything to do with this. Like, this is my life, and I don't even know you. But that's beside the point. So after Christmas, basically, my second semester started, and that's when things got really, really bad. I had a class with some people that just was not good. So during that class, I was being harassed. Before it, people were like waiting in the room for me to like talk to me, confront me, whatever, intimidate me. I don't really know. I was still being threatened. I did have death threats. I had some on my phone, like on my voicemail, and like I still have that phone to this day. Like, I still have it on the voicemail. I mean, I was just like, I was getting death threats. I was getting threats in general, just like people were gonna like hurt me, and I was like very concerned for my well-being. So as my sophomore year went on, like towards the second semester, I was really, really doing bad in school. I was never the student to like put my head down on the desk and like sleep or ignore the teacher or not care about my tests or my grades and not do my homework. I was just always very like obedient in the sense that like I always did my stuff. Like, I always did what I was supposed to do. I always did what I was told. I just didn't like to be like, I always just wanted to do everything right, and I wanted to do everything, you know, everything that I was told. So I was always like a people pleaser and just wanted like everything to go smoothly. So I started like sleeping in class, and like that's just something I find very disrespectful, because it just kind of shows that you just don't care what the teacher's saying, and you're disrespecting them. And I just started to sleep in class, and looking back on it, like I was mentally like checked out. Like, I just didn't care. Like, I was just so mentally not in like reality, like wasn't dealing with what was going on in front of me. I was so upset, and I was depressed, and so much stuff was going on outside of school, like mentally with me, that I just could not handle. So I would go to school, I would sleep, and try to avoid the people that I didn't want to deal with. And it was like, no matter what I did, they would still be in my business. Like, they were writing notes on my desk, they were leaving notes on my desk, they were writing stuff on the board for like not everybody to see, because nobody knew what was going on, but like they just like leave it there for me to see. Like, it was just very mentally, it was not right. It was not right at all. Like, what they were doing to me mentally and emotionally was so incredibly messed up. So basically the entire sophomore year, like, I wasn't paying attention in class. I wasn't doing good. I was failing all of my classes, and it got to the point where I just like kind of just like didn't go to school a lot. I was going to school, and it wasn't to the point where like I was gonna get in trouble for it, but like if there was a day that like something horrible had happened the day before, I was just like, I don't feel good, I'm not going to school. And like my dad, I think kind of knew what was going on. Like, he did know what was going on, so he knew that it wasn't that I was sick or anything. He knew that it was because I just didn't want to, but I think he just let it slide because he didn't know what else to do. I feel like my parents felt very, not helpless, but like they didn't, I don't think, like I didn't open up enough about it to them, so I feel like they didn't want to push it, but it was just a bad situation. So by the time that the end of my sophomore year came around, I was so done with everything. Like, I was just so done. I was failing all of my classes. I just didn't care about school. I just honestly wanted to get out of there. I'm like, I just don't want to be here anymore. I cannot deal with the bullying. I can't deal with the threats. I was scared for my well-being. I was calling my mom so much during the day, like, please come and get me. I can't be here. I got threatened again. Like, I just can't do this. I was crying. It was just a really, really, really bad situation, and I didn't want to be there anymore. So after my sophomore year ended, I talked to my parents a lot about doing online homeschooling. My parents, by the end of the summer, had finally agreed that I could do online homeschooling. There were a couple reasons that I chose to do that. One, the main reason was because of the bullying, because I didn't want to deal with that and I was just so over it, but also we had previously moved pretty far away from where my actual school was, and my sister was graduating, so she wasn't going to be able to take me to school anymore. And no bus came to where I was, so it was just gonna be like, how was I gonna get to school and all of this stuff. I didn't have a license at that point, I only had a permit, so there was a lot of other factors that went into it. It wasn't just the fact of like me being bullied. That was the main purpose. So yeah, so I decided that I wasn't going to go to school anymore, to a public school, and I went to sign up for online schooling. But my dad and I went into the school at the very beginning of what would have been my junior year at that public school, and we went into the school and we were basically telling them that I wasn't going to be attending anymore, or I wasn't going to be attending that year. And I think it was like the first day of school we went, and we were like, she's already started an online school program, and it was just me and my dad, and he was like, you know, so that's what we're doing. And the lady basically looked at him and was like, okay, well, in the system, it's like, it says she's a dropout. And I remember my dad was like, what? Like, he was like, yeah, but she's going to an online school, so she didn't drop out, but, you know, because she's still pursuing her education. She's just not going to a public school, and she's not going to this school. She goes, yeah, but that doesn't matter. Like, unless you're going to, like, a public school or whatever, like, we don't recognize that you're in school, so she's in the system as a dropout. And my dad got so infuriated, like, because he didn't think it was right, because I did technically drop out of that public school, but I was still going to school. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's not like I dropped out and I was like, oh yeah, I'm just lazy, I don't feel like going, or I was getting into bad things and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, that's not worth my time. I wasn't skipping, I was just not going to that public school. And it really, I think, like, that brought me down even further, because I was like, seriously, now, like, they think I'm a dropout, and like it says it on my records that I'm a dropout, and I don't want to be perceived as that, because once again, back to the society thing, society just makes everything so, like, standards are so high, and I understand that, and I have really high standards for myself, but like, I don't want people to look at me and automatically be like, wow, like, if they were to like read my school record and say, like, oh, she dropped out, like, I don't want people to think like it's for certain reasons that it's not, you know, and think that like I totally gave up on school, because I didn't. So that was really hard and frustrating, and it was just a really bad time. So I did technically drop out of public school, and I continued my education, and I ended up getting my GED, which is a whole nother story in itself. If you guys want any story times, or you guys are curious about anything that I talk about, you can always ask me for a story time, and if I feel comfortable talking about it, I definitely will, and I'll make a story time about it, because I want people to be more aware. Like, I feel like my situation is so different than a lot of people's, and I feel like a lot of people like have judged me and like still do judge me, because they're like, whatever happened to that girl? And it's like, it's not like what people think, and it's not what people may assume, and people may even assume that, like, I don't even know what people think, to be honest, but it's just like, I feel like if anybody is going through something similar where you're being bullied in school, or you have dropped out of high school, like your public high school, and you're doing school online and you're having a hard time with that decision, or people are like questioning your decision or whatever, I just want to like basically tell you that it's okay, and it's okay if your life doesn't go as planned, and it's okay if you aren't doing what society considers to be normal, and if your path is different than everybody else's. I struggled for a really long time with myself and with my emotions, and, you know, my thoughts with myself, and it took me a really long time to kind of be okay with the fact that, yeah, I didn't do things exactly the same. I did get my GED, and no, it doesn't make me any less of a person, and no, I'm not stupid, and no, I am not, you know, I'm not any less educated than anybody else. It's just, it was the path that I took, and I do believe that everything happens for a reason, and I believe that, you know, we were meant to do certain things for certain reasons, and I believe that we're put in situations to deal with them and to grow, and for things later on in life, so you're always learning and growing. And it's not just in school that you're learning in your everyday life of just, you know, street smarts and, you know, things like that. Basically, I just feel like it's very important for me to say that if you are not going on the path that you thought was intended for you, because I never in a million years thought that I would have ever dropped out of public school and would have gotten a GED and wouldn't have gone to college and all this stuff. Like, I would have never thought that about myself. As I was younger, I was like, yeah, man, like, I'm going to college, I'm moving to California, Los Angeles, like, here I come, like, I'm gonna be, like, married and have kids by, like, 25 and all this stuff, and it's just, like, it's not realistic. Like, if you try to plan things out in your head, it's just not going to happen that way, because so many unexpected life events happen that just throw you off course completely. And it's just like, it's very hard sometimes to get back on the track that you were trying to go. And especially if you run into situations like bullying and being threatened and situations like that, you cannot control other people's actions. No matter what you think and what you do with your life and how you handle the situation, people are going to act the way that they're going to act, and you can't do anything about it, you know? So if you take anything from this video, I just want you to know that, like, yeah, this maybe not as dramatic as, like, some people, like, wanted it to be or whatever. People might be like, well, you didn't really drop out, you still did school. I did technically drop out, but I didn't do it in the way that everybody thought. And that's the whole point of this, is that, yeah, my records may have said that I was a dropout, but I wasn't, you know? And I just feel like society's so messed up, and if you're going through something similar to this and you don't know how to feel about it, and you feel ashamed of yourself because you didn't go through, like, how everybody else did, and you're not in, like, the public school system or a private school or whatever, it's okay. And it is what it is. Like, everybody's life is different. Everybody's life is different. And, you know, once you make a decision big like that, you can't really go back on it. So don't dwell on things, and don't make yourself feel bad for things that other people just don't understand. And that's a lot of what it is people are just naive to the situation. They don't understand, or they're just assuming something totally different than what is actually going on. And so it's really important to just remember that you are who you are, and all you can do is be a better person every single day and work on yourself, and not worry about what everybody else is thinking and focused on, and just focus on yourself. Like, don't focus on anybody else. Like, God, I wish I knew that in high school. Like, stop worrying about what everybody else is worried about and what everybody else is thinking and saying about you. Just do you and don't worry about it. And like I said, you can't control other people's actions, but you control your own reactions, and you can control how you react to things. And I think that's a huge thing, is that don't react to people when they're negative towards you, and just try to have a positive life. Try to just completely shut out negativity. And you know, if someone's being mean or rude, or they're bullying you, or they're threatening you, obviously to a certain extent, obviously if it gets to a certain point, you're gonna need to confront it, whether it's to them or telling somebody that you know, telling a counselor, telling a teacher, telling your parents, telling somebody that you know, so that the situation can get handled. You need to do that. But if you try to handle it yourself in the wrong ways, like trying to bully them back, or you know what I mean, just like things like that that are very basically the wrong way to handle it, it's not going to get you anywhere, and it's just going to make things worse for you. So just try to react to things in a smart way, and do not act on impulse. And if you don't know what impulse means, it means like acting without really thinking. Like, you're just doing it on the spot right there. You let your emotions take over, and you just act exactly, like, you act out exactly how you feel. And I have done that so many times, and I've definitely learned from my mistakes. And I mean, we make mistakes to learn from them. But yeah, I kind of got off on a tangent there, but these videos, I don't want people to I don't want them to necessarily be like drama filled. Like, I feel like a lot of story times are just based on like a whole bunch of drama that's happened, and I just want mine to be more like uplifting and like a positive thing. I don't want this to be a negative thing. And like, because I have a lot of not so happy story times and things that have happened that I could make into story times, and I could make it so dramatic, but at the same time, it's like I don't want to do that because I want people to take from this. Like, I want somebody to have something positive from this and take something positive and happy about this and be like, okay, you know, I won't do things that way or whatever. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I did drop out of high school. It is something that I don't regret. But it's definitely a decision that like I've really struggled with ever since I made that choice. Sometimes like I was thinking like, oh God, if I was had stuck it out, like I wouldn't be in the situation right now. I wouldn't be having to take a class at 20 years old for my GED and all of this stuff. But like I said, everybody's choices, you make choices thinking they're the right decisions for you, and if you think they are in that time, then they must be, you know? Everybody's situation's different, and things just don't always work out the way that you think in your head or the way that you plan, and that's okay. So yeah, I do not condone dropping out of school completely. I do think that everybody should be getting an education, at least through high school. I know that college isn't for everybody. I mean, I didn't go to college, and whatever, that's fine with me. If you want to go to college, more power to you. I think it's great, and I do think that furthering your education as far as you want to is an amazing thing. I don't think you should ever stop learning. I think that you should always be educating yourself, but I do think that everybody should finish high school. I think that you need to finish high school. So I'm not saying that, you know, I don't want anybody to get it twisted either and be like, oh, she said it's okay, like, to make your own life choices and like to go down the path that you think it is. And I'm not saying like to totally go down the path like of not going to high school at all. Like, I dropped out for very significant reasons that were like, in my mind, were significant to keeping my mental and emotional health in check, and making sure that like my well-being was safe and I was okay. So those were the reasons that I dropped out, but I would never ever tell anybody like, yeah, if you can't handle it, just don't do it anymore, you know? Like, there are other options, and yeah, you can always go to homeschool. You can always do online homeschooling. There's the GED program, which there's nothing wrong with. Like I said, that's what I did. At first I was doing online homeschooling. Once again, that's a whole nother story. But the GED is what I ended up going with. Stay in school. If you end up getting your GED or you end up doing online homeschooling or regular homeschooling or whatever, don't make anyone feel ashamed of you or any less of you or think that you're like a weirdo or something like that, because it's just not true. And everybody's situation is different. I hope you guys liked this story time video. Let me know if you guys want to hear any more story times or if this was just completely boring and like pointless. I don't know. I think it wasn't pointless. I feel like I hopefully help someone out there, even if it's just one person, if they're going through something similar. But yeah, I hope you guys liked this video, and if you guys want to see more videos like this one, or you guys want to see my regular beauty videos, then subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys!